Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Power Hour panel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Power Hour panel, where we get together and we discuss current events that are happening across the globe and right here in our great nation as well. Now, when the pandemic hit, a lot of programs are put in place in order to give the American people some relief. We had the rent moratorium, we had stimulus checks going out, and unemployment was extended. Now, while these programs were put into place and many of them will come to an end, one program that was put in place that helped younger individuals was the Student Loan Relief Program. And essentially, if you had student loans, or they were federal student loans, you did not have to pay. Now, President Biden, on the campaign trail, one of his biggest promises to the American people was that he was going to start canceling student loan debt. But many people feel as though President Biden has not made good on these promises. And with Biden today announcing that he will not extend the student loan relief program past January, many people are very upset and saying that Biden is not holding true to his promises that he made on the campaign trail. So for many people out there, for many former students, they will have to start paying back their student loans beginning February 1st. So Dr. Tracy, what do you think about Biden not extending the student loan relief program?
Well, I'm livid about it, and that's for personal reasons. But there were a lot of folks that weren't covered in that student relief debt delay, if you will, postponement. It was only for student loans that were guaranteed by the government. So consolidated loans, for example, Navient is one of the agencies that has been responsible for handling those payments, and they didn't suspend any payments. So it only covered a very small number of people. And frankly, I think he should make good on his promise to cancel that debt. People don't understand that when the debt is canceled, that allows more money to come into the economy. So I'm angry about it.
Wade?
So I got a couple points on this. First off, every politician lies, period. As long as you know that, you're okay. They all make promises that they can't keep, can't come even close to keeping just to get into the office, first off, all right? So everyone's going to overpromise. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's wrong, but once you realize that, it doesn't sting as much. Second off, I don't know if Biden even knows where he's at, let alone what he promised. He can't remember that shit. So, I paid my student loans, but then again, the United States, the only place in the world you can go and take a $20,000 student loan and pay $100,000 over 50 years. It's ridiculous. Do I think, though, that we should forgive student loan debt? No, not really. I think if you're willing to take on the debt to go to school, then you should have to pay for it.
So I will say this, because when we talk about this issue, right, we talk about two different things, even though people are trying to merge it into one. The two different things are the actual student relief program, which froze student debt for some people, and then the actual cancellation of student loans. So first I want to touch on the relief. I think it's premature. I think it's something, let me backtrack. We don't know how this winter is going to be. We're seeing many places put mask mandates back into place because of the Omicron variant. We're seeing inflation at an all-time high. We're seeing that the economy is not necessarily recovering the way that we thought it was going to recover. And we could have another winter where places go into lockdown. So I think for President Biden not to extend the student loan relief at this moment is actually irresponsible. I think he should extend it at least to the spring just to see how we're going to handle the Omicron variant. I do think the Omicron variant is going to hit the United States. I think it's going to hit it hard. I do think it's going to put a lot of people in the hospital. Most people at this time, if they are vaccinated, they have their 2 vaccines, but not the booster shot. We're seeing that if you have the booster shot, you're more protected. But even with them, I'm still skeptical about that data coming out. And I don't know how vaccines are going to work with the Omicron variant as it starts to spread across the United States. Now, on the other side, we have actual student loan cancellation, which I think would do a great deal to help the economy. In the United States, the way that we view and we see student loans is not necessarily how most other countries view it. For the most part, in other countries, it does not cost 100K, 50K to go to college. It's not something, this is something that's a very American thing. And I think strapping students down with that much loans as soon as they graduate holds back the economy. We can see that my generation, millennials, we are not purchasing houses like the previous generation. We essentially rose up in the time where we were in the Great Recession, where the market crashed, everything crashed. We were in a situation where we were told that the only thing possible for us to succeed is to go to college. So many people went to college because they thought that's the only thing they can do. And when they went to college, they came out with majors that aren't paying anything. And there's no way that they could pay that back. So I think it's hurting many millennials, and now with Gen Z stepping up, I think it's hurting Gen Z as well. I think canceling student loans, the way that they plan to cancel it, the way that they said in the campaign trail, would help the economy a great deal, especially if we're saying, let's cancel 10K. Most people who owe student loans owe more than 10K. But going ahead and canceling 10K for every student would be a major assistance because, like Wade says, you could owe 20K in student loans, but because of the predatory lending, and I continue to call it predatory lending, you'll owe 20K, but you're going to end up paying back 50, 60, 70K. It's really unheard of outside the United States. I think it's a broken system that needs to be fixed. Anyone want to respond? I see both faces. Who wants to respond first? Okay, there we go.
The cost of education in this country is obscene. And the amount of money, I won't even say the amount of money I owe because it's that obscene. And, I think that we aren't a country that values education. If we did, we wouldn't put people through this process and through the cost. I mean, what we're paying for is just it's just beyond. I mean, it's really, I start stuttering because it's just beyond. And I think that I agree with you on the predatory lending, and they're the ones that make the money. The institution gets their flat rate. These loans get sold and exchanged and sold and sold, and it just becomes impossible for the average student to keep track of them. It's like mortgages. It's like mortgages were and are. And frankly, they need more regulation. They need, there needs to be something to tamp down on the cost of education, to make, maximum, something that makes it, that gives the average consumer a fair fight here. Because people do, want to go to college. They want to go to the best college that they can. And what we've done is we've created or made it worse for ourselves in a very privileged society where those that have the money can go to the very best schools, and those that don't can't, and it makes it so unaffordable.
I agree and I disagree. I disagree with your statement, though, that we value education in this country, because we don't value education in this country. What we do is we value the student loan to get you that education. That's what we value. That's why everybody said you have to go to college, because people were getting paid to say you have to go to college so that you can get these college loans so people can get the money. If we actually valued education, we wouldn't be offering jobs for $15 an hour and requiring a master's degree. We don't give a shit about education. On top of that, most of our education, we don't care if you go or not as long as you pay the bills. Hell, I know colleges that'll pass you as long as you paid your bills. Maybe show up once or twice. I know other colleges that don't give a shit who you are. I mean, and let's face it, we have reduced the qualifications to get into college nowadays, where even a Harvard degree means the same as a community college degree. It don't mean shit. Let's be honest. All right. So in my opinion, I agree with you and I disagree with you. I agree with you that it's predatory lending. I agree with you that it needs a complete reform, but I disagree in the fact that we value education in this country, because we really don't.
So I want to make the comment about the Harvard thing that you said. I know it's stepping away, but the reason to go to an Ivy League school or a school of that caliber, right? Because there are a few schools of that caliber that aren't Ivy League, like Georgetown. to go to that, it's not necessarily education. I know people get upset when I say this. I tell this people all the time. When you go to an Ivy League school, when you go to a school of that caliber, that's Ivy League, but that's not a member of the Ivy League, it's to network. It's to meet the people that you need to meet. So
yeah,
just going to put that out there.
I mean, really, honestly, and Dr. Tracy's right. As long as you got money, you can put anybody anywhere. It doesn't really matter. You're not getting into college by your scores anymore.
To an extent. Depending
there are lots of schools that have done away with scores. California has done away with SATs.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happens when you get rid of everything from actual grades and give everybody participation trophies. You can't tell anybody, I'm sorry, you don't qualify to go here.
Well, I'm going to disagree there.
You're bringing down the average, Joe. You need to go to community college.
So I agreed with getting rid of the SAT, mostly because it wasn't necessarily showing intelligence. It wasn't. Schools were primarily teaching to pass tests. So you had a population.
They are.
Well, yes, they are.
They currently are.
So you have a population of kids who can pass a test and that'll get them so far. They'll get into the college of their dreams, etc. But when it comes to real life, they can't necessarily function because for 18 to 24 years of their life, their main function was passing tests. So there are a lot of kids out there with the knowledge, but the knowledge is applied to test taking and not to the functions that we need to have a successful career in the United States. So
book smart, street dumb.
I wouldn't even call it book smart sometimes because
look, I work with people all day long that know what a toilet is and how long it should take to put in by a book, but they've never put one in their life. And they stand over you and tell you, my book says it should take this long. Here's a wrench. Show me.
So
that's what I'm referring to.
So here's my next question to you guys. Do you think that Biden is actually going to do anything in terms of student loans? Again, he's not extending this relief. He said on the campaign trail that he was going to cancel student loans. At this time, he's basically saying that he wants Congress to do it. We do know the way that Congress is set up at this moment, that Congress will not be able to pass anything like that for a very, very long time. Now, while he said he was going to get rid of all student loans up to 10K, he did get rid of some student loans. So for instance, he got rid of, they did pay 12.5 billion student loans for about 640,000 people, but it was mostly for people who had disabilities and for people whose campuses shut down for unforeseen events such as COVID-19. So do you think that Biden is going to do anything in terms of student loans? Or even do you think he'll be able to talk about or even put the relief back in place if he sees that it's a bad idea not to put it back in place?
I think that he can only fight so many battles at one time. And I think that he's prioritizing his current agenda, and I think that he's saving that, as a later priority. I think it's going to bite him in the butt. I think that the cost of education, the cost of these loans to people, is so high that if frankly, I think that he ought to study it. I think that there should be some sort of study into how it's impacting the average consumer, so that there can be some evidence-based decision making instead of politicizing this.
Wade?
Ass.
So I'm going to come back to you, Wade, because you're not allowed to pass on this show. You have to say something of substance. But I will say this. I think whatever your opinion is, you don't say something of substance.
Ass.
So this is what I'm going to say. When Biden was on the campaign trail, he was a champion of canceling student loan debt. We thought that it was going to be extended with this relief program because we are still in a global pandemic and things are going downhill right now. But I almost agree with Dr. Tracy that he's prioritizing, but I do think that student loan, whether it comes to relief or whether it comes to canceling student loan debt, I think it's going to come around a time where there is some type of election, whether it's presidential election whether it is a state election. I think he'll try and get the ball rolling once there's an election coming around to try and get people back on his side, which is frustrating for a lot of people because many people who voted for him thought in the first 180 days this was going to be taken care of. Now, Wayne, I'm going back to you.
I'd like to address that comment. I think most of the people who voted for him were morons. Now, here's why, all right? Because you voted for what am I getting out of this, not what can he do for the nation. I'm getting my student loan canceled. I'm getting rid of Trump. I'm doing this. He screwed you all, and he screwed us too.
So I completely disagree with that. Most of the people who I've spoken to who voted for Biden, while they're disappointed, they still are sticking with their decision because out of the two candidates, they believe that Biden would better represent them and put policies in place to not even just, I'm trying to find a nice way to say this. So when I spoke to,
Trump. It was the two evils.
But it was better of the two evils. But it wasn't even just, it wasn't Trump. It was, we'll end up being better off with the pandemic, not under Trump. Most people did not like the way that Trump handled the pandemic, especially in the beginning. He essentially tried to tell people that it wasn't real, that it wasn't a danger until it was too late. And I think that left
nothing to do with Biden's policy. It was mostly people who didn't like Trump who had a different out. That's all it was. Let's be honest.
But I'm telling you right now, a lot of people mobilized. A lot of people mobilized because of Trump's response to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Now, again,
well, I hope the same amount of people mobilized to the screwing Biden's giving everyone. I mean, at least he could offer some lube. I mean, he sold everything else. So,
Biden.
I voted for Biden. I voted for him primarily because he graduated from my law school. But no, I voted for him because I needed to get rid of the authoritarian narcissist that was vying for the same job.
Now, you know what you didn't say was
our country.
You know what you didn't say is you didn't say the person with the better policies. You said an authoritative narcissist you wanted to get out of office, which tells me that whoever the other option was, you would have voted for, regardless of what their policies were.
It depends. I may have written it a third candidate like Mel if it had been somebody like Pence versus Trump. I might have voted for myself under those circumstances, but in this situation, I did pick the better candidate. I picked the one that wasn't an authoritarian narcissist who had the country's best interests at heart and not his own personal wallet and what he could extract as a grifter.
The same one who hasn't followed through with the bulk of his promises, whose approval rating is so far down, deep down into the crust of the world that he's actually halfway to China, where most of his handlers are. The same guy.
So I'm gonna say this. I actually did vote for Biden in this election. It wasn't an option for me. I did not like. So as we all know, I discussed Trump's policies. I don't like Trump's policies for the most part. I don't have to like a person to vote for a person, but I do have to like your policies. I didn't think his policies were good for the everyday person. I think he was hurting and screwing a lot of Americans. The tax breaks that he was putting on the books, I think it was, again, going to screw and hurt the American people. I didn't like the way he handled the pandemic. Like, the pandemic was the nail in the coffin for me. At the beginning of the pandemic, we could have saved a lot more lives if he would just have admitted that we had a problem instead of trying to be a macho man. And I know that's kind of out of the way that I usually talk, but I feel like he was trying to make America be like that macho man. And he really did model himself like many dictators, like Putin. Like, that's the kind of handle that he wanted. And I do believe that if we continue to elect people who want to be seen as strong, authoritative leaders, we're going to end up with a country like Russia because people are going to put all their faith in a person. I do not believe that presidents should be celebrities. I don't think they should be celebrated. I don't think we should have parades and flags and hats to one person. I think politics is something outside of celebrity. Even if Hillary Clinton won, as we all know, I'm a big Hillary Clinton supporter. I wouldn't wear a hat every day that's whatever Hillary's slogan, because I'm going to hold her accountable. If she did something wrong, I'm going to say she did something wrong. If she did something right, I'm going to say she did something right and hold her accountable to both of those things. And I think that American politics has fallen away from that, where we now view our presidents as celebrities and think they're the only ones who can handle the problem. And that's not the case. We need an entire government that can handle problem, whether it is COVID, whether it's student debt. We need a strong government that works together to to solve the issues and keep the country moving forward. But I don't think Americans want that anymore. They want their cult leader. So
I would agree with cult leader, yes, because that's really what it comes down to now. Is it's either the worst, it's either the best of the worst that you're going to vote for. You're going to vote for the other person just because you don't like one person, or you're going to vote for a person based off sex, religion, or gender, or race. We don't actually vote based off of policies anymore. We don't vote off of doing research. The majority of Americans, some do, but for the most part, whoever spends the most money historically is going to win. It's not right.
The Republicans don't have any policies. They don't have a platform. I think they decided not to pass a platform. So I don't know that's accurate. But I think that I know what I believe. I know what I believe as a Democrat, and I know that what Biden believes. I think there's a difference between, governing and running for office. And I think that, he has to bide, so to speak, his time to figure out what he can get passed and when he can pass it. You don't spend all your powder up front.
Yeah, you save a bunch at the end when you're trying to get reelected. Then you toss that. You get a bunch of that low-hanging fruit out of there and say, look what I did.
Yeah. What else would you do if you were running for office?
Same thing anybody else does. So,
okay.
I mean, why should they be any different? Maybe because they're the leader of the free world? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is all going to come around. I think this is all going to come around and bite Biden in the ass. I think he's in a position where he's losing a lot of support very, very quickly. And for the way that he campaigned, now I know you hold things till the end, right? To make sure that you can get back in office. But the way that he promised on the campaign trail that he was going to cancel student debts, it literally looked like that was going to be one of his main tasks. Like, yep, build back better America, blah, all those other things were great. But he secured the vote. I'm telling you right now, he secured the vote for many young people based off his promises about student loans. It was a priority on the campaign trail. It was a priority all the way up until he took office. And then he took office, and then it no longer was a priority. So I do think a lot of people are going to hold on to that. I feel like a lot of millennials and Gen Zs, we hold grudges and we spread things across social media very quickly that can stay with you for a long time. The news cycle is fast.
I like to see cancel culture take on the president.
They have already. Not this president, but
I'd like to see him take it on. I mean, cancel him. Get his ass out of there. Destroy him.
I wonder if he's really not necessarily saving it for the next, for re-election, but to keep the Republicans from using it against him, during the next midterms.
And that's why I said it's going to be around some election. I don't know which election. Could be midterms. Could be various state elections. It could be, I don't know when he's using it, but I do think they're going to end up using it as leverage after or around election time. So I'm not entirely sure, but I do think it's going to bite him in the backside. But let's go to these comments because people are writing in. Lindsay says, hola. Lindsay says, Wade's outnumbered tonight.
Yes.
Philip says, hey. He says, hey, Mel. Hey, everyone. Joanna waves. Wade says, what's up? Joanna says, I believe student loan relief programs should be extended to all. I believe it should be extended to all. I think it should be extended till the spring, bare minimum. Joanna says, again, Biden did what all others before him did, and that makes promises they know they cannot keep just to get votes. Mm-hmm. Lindsay says, the student loan relief was probably the only smart thing he could stuck to and have failed spectacularly. Student loans are insanely expensive and should be avoided if possible. However, those that are stuck relying on it should be given an extension with the unknowns of regional lockdowns coming and going. That's stupid of him to cancel. And yes, I'm going to pull this down just so we can see Dr. Tracy's face. We don't know what's coming with Omicron. We don't know what's coming with Omicron. And what Lindsay is saying right here, I kind of mentioned it earlier, we don't know what's going on with Omicron. And I do know we may not go into, there's a possibility that we can go into a nationwide lockdown, but we do know that lockdowns are going to start popping up across the country. It's going to affect a lot of Americans. So I do think that not extending it is foolish on his part.
California has already instituted a statewide mask mandate for indoors.
Yep. California and New York, both, yeah. So Joanna says, at least remove those crazy interest rates. Yes. Joanna says, it just doesn't make sense how Biden is restarting student loans at this time. It is not. Wade gets a point from Joanna. Joanna says, I agree with Wade. Lindsay says, Ivy League is a breeding ground for career for politicians and the wealthy. Honestly, it's who you know. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. But I did hang out with many people who did, and I met a lot of great contacts through them. So you can go to an Ivy League school, or you can hang out with the Ivy Leaguers. You make some connections there too. Book smart isn't even a thing these days. It's sad. Joanna says Biden is tired. This job is too much for him. Yeah, he should be in retirement right now.
Right.
Younger politicians. And no, Biden, Trump, we need younger politicians. They all should be retired. That's just. Lindsay says, there he goes, stirring the pot. Amanda says, I feel like he saved the loan deferred forgiveness for being safe for him to try to best Trump in 2024. I don't know exactly what he's saving it for, but I do think he's saving it. So I do agree.
So Lindsay, what you're saying is he's using it as a carrot. Like when he got elected, he's going to try and use it as a carrot again.
Yes. Got to bite him in the butt. Joanna says, well, maybe we're morons, but I would do it all over again. The division we have in this country is very sad. And then Joanna says, amen, Dr. Tracy. So that's a point for Dr. Tracy. Amanda says, we would have been worse off with Trump, especially when he got COVID and was like, oh, it was a kid's cold. I'm fine. Meanwhile, he's vaccinated. He told others to get vaccinated. He received the treatment that isn't available to everyone, like remdesivir and Regeneron's monoclonal antibodies. Amanda, you know I got to practice these words before I say them on air.
That's such a
RNA. I'm just going to say RNA.
Look, if that comment from Amanda, every president since the dawn of time has received treatments that aren't available to the regular people. I mean, there's like a whole medical device.
So I want to say this, right? Yes, we all know that the president's going to get special treatment when it comes to medical, but don't lie about it. Don't say that it was
I'll
like
go with that.
Like,
but
don't say
it was a super spreader
treatment that none of us get.
Don't be a super spreader and create problems, and don't deny that there's a problem here that needs to be taken care of, and don't encourage your followers, okay, to engage in risky behavior. I mean, there's a whole lot of don'ts I've got for Trump, okay?
There's a whole lot of don'ts for a whole lot of past presidents. I think like the last 4, just FYI. So.
The last 4, except for this one, the last 4, except for this past one, didn't have me basically on house arrest for having done nothing other than have asthma.
Look, the only thing I like about Clinton's is he convinced an entire nation that a blowjob isn't sex.
Clinton had wonderful policies that put this country.
Gas was 99 cents.
Clinton had great policies. Clinton had
good or bad policies. He convinced an entire nation that a blowjob isn't sex.
I mean, Clinton really pushed the country into to be very prosperous. Like Clinton's economic policies were good.
Nobody remembers anything other than Monica Lewinsky.
Not true.
I do. Anyway, moving on. Orange did not have the qualification to lead a country. It bit us in the butt. We're going to pay for it for a very long time.
I would disagree with that.
Joanna says, same, Joanna, I would too. Philip says, agreed with you, Mel. Point for me too.
We already told you your dad doesn't count.
Exactly. That's 3 points, one for each of us. Exactly. Cult leader Joanna says. Let me get through these comments so we can switch topics. Lindsay says, what we need is a different candidate who isn't a Dem or Republican who can actually do the job of holding office, all that is true entails, and clean up the BS we have in DC. We get America back on track, but it'll never happen in my lifetime. I think it could. The parties are splintering. So I will say this to Amanda's comment. Just like we don't have Whigs anymore, we may not have Democrats or Republicans. The party is definitely Democratic Party is splintering, and the Republican Party is splintering. You have a group of Republicans who hold true to their conservative value, but they don't adhere to the Church of Trump. They don't know where to go. We have moderate Democrats who very much disagree with the progressives. That the party is splitting there. And then we do have radicals who want to cause a civil war on the right side. So we have honestly, when we look at politics like on the major scale, so I'm not talking about the other parties, unfortunately, we really do have 4 different parties, but they're just tag teaming at the time. So Amanda says, you know what most Republicans believe when they followed and stopped and believed all of what QAnon was sprouting?
All right, you ready for a rarity? I agree with Amanda on this one. When you believe that people are coming back from the dead to lead the country, you're just a little batshit crazy.
Just a little bit?
I mean, it's just a lot of it. A lot. So everyone, mark this in your calendars. Tonight is the night that Amanda and Wade agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay says, not all Republicans are part of or believe in anything QAnon. Let's not overhype that thought, though. But here's the thing, because we really do have 4 parties, most of the people that fall on the far right believe in QAnon. So not moderate, not like moderate Republicans, not conservatives, not true conservatives, but people on that far right, because we are really divided into 4 parties right now. Most of them do believe in QAnon. Boom! You were right on point, Mel.
Again.
That's another point for me. Sean says, yes, it does. Sean says, Biden needs Bernie Sanders supporters to win, so we lied to get them on student loans. Yep, that's an interesting point. That is a very interesting point.
Ooh.
I was going to say those gift cards that Mel's been sending out to people who watch have been really working for her.
Yeah. No, Biden needed the Bernie Sanders support. How you feeling that bird now, millennials? How you liking that bird?
Let's not talk about Bernie Sanders. I think we all know how I feel about Bernie Sanders.
Look, all I know is that there is a movie out there called Trump versus the Illuminati. All right. There is not a movie out there called Biden versus the dictionary. All right.
So this comment went up. Yeah, I went to college with Mel. It was not Ivy League. LOL. Shh. Let's not talk about those days. Thanks for throwing me under the bus. It wasn't though. It wasn't. But everyone who's surrounded me was, so outside of
stories there. There are stories there.
Lots of stories we won't get into. Lindsay says Americans have problems with being overly fanatically involved in the too far extremes on both sides. Yep, that's why I say there are four parties. Amanda says Trump even went to the debate with Biden and lied about testing positive.
Well, he wasn't positive. He was confused. I couldn't.
He's a walking hazard.
Philip says not true, Wade. For whatever he was saying before and this right now. Amanda says it's just funny that most Republicans are no social programs when Republicans started social programs, and some of the biggest benefactors of social programs, by the way. Joanna says agree. Joanna says, oh my God, Amanda Wade agrees with you. Amanda says, I know, LO, he agreed with a liberal Democrat.
No, I agreed with a person. I don't care what side you're on.
And
he
then
justifies everything.
That's right.
Lindsay says, laugh my ass off. Oh my God, Dr. Tracy on point with the jokes tonight with the gift cards. Shh, guys. Wade, can you pick three comments from Smoke and Bacon? Because we do have to jump to this next topic.
Sure. We're talking about the student loans. Las Vegas says the president can't shut that program down. It's become way too entrenched. The students and the downtrodden in general are now cash cows. They lay the golden eggs. This will never change while we continue to vote Democrat. Frankly, I'm not convinced the federal government has any business being in the loan shark game in the first place. I would agree with that.
I agree with that.
Gotta say I agree. Las Vegas says, gotta say I agree with Mel on the point of keeping our president humble. I would go a step further and say we should never know if they're right. Know their race or gender.
I could agree
Put the
with that
whiskey
too.
down, Las Vegas.
All right, guys. So going to this, and that counts as the point for me too. So that's 3 points for me. 1, 2, 3. Readable week.
Tonight.
So committee hearings on January 6th. We're still going through the committee hearings to find out what happened on January 6th. Now, we all know that January 6th was the day of the insurrection, treason, and we are trying to figure out what happened on that day. Could it have been prevented? What's happening? What's going on? Now, Liz Cheney has definitely been a champion of finding out what went wrong and finding out who's involved and what's happening. Now, Liz Cheney did get the text messages between several of Trump's confidants, children's, and supporters that seem kind of damaging to some people, not just to Trump, but to the people who wrote them as well. Now, Meadows is the person who received this. Remember, that was a former chief of staff for President Trump. Now, here are some of the text messages. I'm going to go ahead and read the text messages from these people to Meadows, and then I'm going to hear what you guys think before I throw my 2 cents in. So here are some of the text messages. Donald Trump Jr. texted Meadows, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough." Meadows responded, "I'm pushing it hard. I agree. We need an Oval Office address. He has to lead now. It's gone too far and gotten out of hand." Hannity texted, and these are from Fox, not Fox, people from Fox News. Hannity texted, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol." Ingram, also from Fox, texted, "Mark, the president needs to tell the people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy." Brian Filmy, Fox, texted, "Please get him on TV, destroying everything you have accomplished." Now, again, these were text messages from many of Trump's confidants, from his own children, to Meadows to try and urge President Biden to do something in order to stop storming the Capitol. Now,
President Trump,
sorry, thank you. President Trump to stop these people from storming the White House. Now, I do have an opinion. I'm going to let my co-host talk first, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about these. So let's go to Wade first, because we went to Dr. Tracy first last time. Wade, thoughts?
Look, it doesn't matter who it is in the government, the president, the governor. The government has a policy of not making statements. All right, because if they make a statement, they own it. So if Trump was to make a statement, "Hey, you guys, knock this stuff off," it would make him even more guilty than he was in the event. And I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but go with it. Let's talk about anything else. When we admit we crossed a country line, we admit that we, a different country crossed their border, we create all sorts of issues. And I'm just using that as an example. I know it has nothing to do with this. So the government has a habit of not making addresses. So why would Trump come out and say, "Hey, you guys, knock this stuff off"? Because it would be seen as a admission of guilt, for lack of a better term. Does that make sense?
that's what you're going with? That's what you're going with?
That's really
That's what
you're
I'm going with, because he was proved not guilty.
Well, he wasn't proved not guilty. I haven't seen a trial about the insurrection. But when it comes to engaging in a criminal conspiracy, you have to repudiate the conspiracy in order for
That's a big
to
word.
save
Can you
your own
break
butt.
that down?
Yes, in order to not be found to have continued the conspiracy, you have to say, "I'm not part of this. Please stop." And he didn't do that. It took him multiple takes, according to what I understand from reports, multiple takes to get out the crap video that he put out. that told everybody how they loved him, or that he loved them, and that they were beautiful people. So, you know, he didn't make a statement. He didn't want to make a statement. He loves chaos, and he loved the chaos. He saw that what they were just doing, it was destroying. And frankly, I truly believe that he believes that these people, okay, and I'm being kind by calling them people, to be quite honest with you, that these people taking over the Capitol like they were was going to actually install him as president. Okay, the man doesn't know what the Constitution says. And frankly, you know, Fox News is complicit in the creation of this danger, as far as I'm concerned. That they're consistent, you know, frequent, constant sort of ass kissing and being sycophants to this guy, instead of reporting the news, is just simply, you know, complicit in what happened here. And you know, those texts, you know, asking him to do something and whining about wanting him to do something, and a legacy. What legacy? I don't know what legacy, other than the fact that he you know, worked hard to destroy this country.
Like I said, as soon as you acknowledge it, you own it.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this. The first thing, I have a lot of thoughts on this. The first thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to, again, like, you know, I like to break it down into parts because there's a lot of different things going into this. The first part is we're seeing Ingram, Hannity, Kilmeade, all texts saying that the president needs to do something, that he needs to tell these people to stop. At the same time that they are texting the chief of staff, at the same time that they are texting President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, they are on air spreading lies. They're on air spreading misinformation. They are on air saying that this was essentially a false flag. They were on air saying that this was liberals that were doing it, that they had infiltrated. So while they knew the truth, and we see that they knew the truth in those text messages, they spun it in order to place their audience. And I know this for a fact because as this is happening, I am talking to people who are true blue Trump supporters, because I thought it was a great time to get quotes. And they literally told me, oh no, this is not what's really happening. We just heard on Fox that they have reports that these are liberals who have gone into the Capitol building and they're trying to lie and say that it's true patriots. This is what the people were saying to me. So while Hannity, while Ingram, while Kilmeade all knew this information, they all knew, they decided to spread misinformation on air while it was happening. So that is the first thing that I have great issue with. And it's being shown time and time and again that Fox News, the entertainment company, because they cannot call themselves news, Fox News, the entertainment company, the entertainment channel, is purposely spreading misinformation in order to brainwash the masses and to get their agenda across. And the next thing that we have to tackle is whether President Trump should have came out and said something. And I'm going to say this. President Trump was the only person who could have ended this. He could have went on and said, at any time from the very beginning, this is not what I want. Even if in his mind he believed that he won the election, he could have literally said, this is not what I want. Yes, we won the election, but this is not the way to do it. Get out of the Capitol and let's go about finding another way to make me get my presidency. All he had to say was, this is not what I want. And no one would hold him to guilt. They would have said, see, this is not what he wanted. They just took things into their own hands. That's all he had to say. Yes, Democrats would have still been mad. But if he would have done that, he would have gotten a lot more respect and we would not be in the situation that we are right now with the committee hearings. So I do think that he needed to say something. The only person who could have stopped it is the person who stopped it far too late, and that is President Trump. As the only person they would have listened
Totally
to.
agree with you. I totally agree with you that President Trump is the only person that could have stopped this. All right. But I'm also going to stick by when you acknowledge it, you own it.
Except that you're wrong about that, Wade. You're wrong
Well,
about
the government
that.
has a habit of not acknowledging things so they don't own them. Period. I guarantee you there was somebody sitting in Trump's ear saying, shh, don't say nothing. Don't say shit. No, you can't say that.
I feel like it's the complete opposite. I feel like everyone around him was telling him, but so I am not one. As we do know, like I've done a lot of research into people personality disorders. I do a lot of research into it. I kind of help people overcome things like that too. I will never go on air and say that someone is a narcissist or something if we don't necessarily know, have a diagnosis, or can see personal interactions like in real time. However, one of the biggest signs of a narcissist is someone who can't necessarily take responsibility. They're going to turn it and flip it anyway. So I do think that, I just want to throw that out there. I don't even know why I said
I'm getting my ass handed to me tonight.
But here's the thing. We could still disagree about this, Wade, and you could still say, like, yeah, he should have said something earlier.
Oh, yeah, he should have done something. I just truly believe that when you state something, you own it.
It's a time to lead. If you're the president of the United States, you're the leader, right? So it's a time to lead, and that's not what he did. He didn't lead. He didn't demonstrate anything.
That depends on perception. If you believe that he totally instigated the insurrection, then he led the insurrection, and that's what he wanted. If you believe that he didn't incite the insurrection, then he wasn't leading it. So he should have been leading them away. It's all
so
based
I'm gonna use a comparison. I'm gonna use a comparison, right? I'm gonna use a comparison. Let's go back to the Travis Scott Astro World.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Again, he had the same options. He had the same option.
He didn't start it. Like, he was very rowdy, but he wasn't telling people to stomp on people.
Yep.
All he had to do from the stage was say, everyone take a step back. We're stopping this until people get help. It's the same thing. You have people with the power in their hands. Trump should have done the same thing. So I don't understand exactly what you're saying, Wade, because if he says, all he had to say was, I do not support this. This is not the way that we do it. There you go. You take the blame off of you. We have to stop this now, and we'll go back to fighting in the courts for me to get my presidency back because they stole it from us. That's all he had to say.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm going to stick with, if you say it, you own it.
By not saying something, he owns it.
Yeah.
It's a lose-lose. It was a lose-lose for Trump, because if it was anybody else, I would agree with you that you have that. But there are so many Trump haters, it doesn't matter what he did. It doesn't matter what he did and what he said. He would have owned it. Let's be honest for a second. I mean, they actually put a anti-Trump psychological definition in the psychological journals because people hated him so much it created psychological issues for people. No matter what he said, he was losing.
At the time this happened, the vice president was in the Capitol. They were erecting a place to hang him where if they could catch him, they were going to do that. And the man couldn't come out of the White House and make a statement to the public to stop. To me, that is the sign of again, I don't have any qualifications to diagnose anybody, but that's a sign of a sociopath and somebody who, frankly, shouldn't have been in office, should have said something, and his failure to do so is, barring his insanity at the moment, okay, is a sign of complicity in the actions. And at the end of the day, not by association, he led them there.
But it's such a fine line. I don't agree with the.
I don't think it's a funny line. If let's say that I was talking inflammatory about someone, that I was pushing a negative narrative about someone. I'm just going to make this very personal, right? And then my followers, my fans decided they are going to attack that person. Right? All I have to say is,
you didn't tell them.
All I have to say is, no, stop attacking that person. They're going to stop and that person's life is saved. If I don't, I'm complicit that way because I know that I hold the power. I know that I hold so much power that I don't have to tell the people to do it. That all I have to do is look at someone wrong, and my fans will jump them because I know I wield that power. But if I know I say stop, they will instantly stop. Trump holds that power. Trump's supporters will do anything to support Trump, and he knows that. He doesn't have to say, go attack this person or go storm the Capitol. They're going to do it in his name, and they won't stop unless he says stop. And when you hold that type of power, you are then held responsible for it. It's the same thing with the mob boss. It's the same thing as a gang leader. They're going to hold him under RICO laws because it was done in his name and he could have said stop. Now that's going back to the mob and gangs. But when you wield that type of power, you can get things done without saying it, but you're still the one getting the things done. So let's go to the comments. So Lynn says, holy crap, Vegas agrees with Mel. I know. Just dropping those bombs today, everyone. Joanna says, what's going on tonight?
I'm getting my ass kicked. That's what's going on tonight.
I love that because she's so right. Lindsay says, Joanna Lorraine, oh my God, I know, right? Philip says, Liz is the best as a Democrat. I will vote for her if she runs as president. I'm going to say this. Liz Cheney is the most conservative person I know. She votes conservative. She holds conservative values. She is not a Democrat. She has just decided not to follow party lines with their admiration of Trump's. Liz Cheney is 100% a Republican. She votes conservative. She believes in conservative values. She is a Republican through and through. She just does not adhere to the cult of Trump. I'm dropping this cult word a lot because we have an announcement to make later tonight.
But she also has a husband that shoots people in bright orange hunting clothes. That we'll just leave that alone, right?
We'll leave that one alone. Joanna says it doesn't matter. They will not be accountable for this. It's very frustrating to see how much they have gotten away with.
Oh, well, let me address that because the only reason you're frustrated, Joanna, is because you're actually seeing it. Usually they get away with it behind closed doors.
And we don't see it.
And we don't see it. So
Philip says, thank you, Dr. Tracy, for enlightening us tonight. That's the point.
Philip, who hurt you?
Dr. Tracy, Philip also says, Dr. Tracy, I really appreciate your take on the issue tonight. Jima Allen, hey Jima, how are you? Jima Allen says, first off, let's be honest. Donald Trump called those goons to the U.S. Capitol. Yeah. Joanna says, so ironic how they are using personal devices, text, emails, etc. in the White House. Didn't they try to destroy Hillary for the same thing? So the whole I don't want to get into this.
Traitor wrong, Joanna.
I don't even want to get into this, but Hillary Clinton did what people have been doing for many, many years. They just
hey, look, just because everybody's jumping off the bridge doesn't mean you need to jump off the bridge.
Just because everyone's going into the Capitol building and Donald Trump hasn't said anything yet doesn't mean we have to go to the Capitol building. You know, same thing.
There you go.
Lindsay says, so because I don't watch Fox, why haven't they been shut down for this? Honest question, because if this happened 30 years ago, they would have been put off the network. Because
capitalism.
Ethics.
Number one, yes, capitalism. Number two, Fox News is not a news company. It's an entertainment company. And according to the documents in court, oh gosh, I love the wording of the actual, I can't remember. It's no one in their right mind would believe that this is news. That goes like why they, I love the actual wording. And I can't remember
it sells stories.
No. They are not a news company. They are like legally not a news company. They're an entertainment company. Google it. To all my people out there, Google if Fox News is a news company, a news channel, or entertainment. They literally have to be an entertainment channel because of the amount of misinformation that they spread. So give me 1 second. I got to find where this is. Jima Allen says Donald Trump didn't anything to stop the insurrection, period. Yep. Amanda says Trump started the insurrection 100%. It was at his Capitol speech where he said, we fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. They started the insurrection with wheels turning. I forgot about that. Joanna says, why would he end it? He started it. He wanted chaos. He was fueling the division of this country. Sean says, one death is tragic. 1 million is a statistic. And that was by Stalin. Philip says, sorry, Wade, this topic is not favorable for you tonight.
Yeah. Who hurt you? Was it me, Philip? I apologize, man.
When I start out with, so that's what you're going with, that should be a signal to you.
Yeah, that was
I don't listen to my wife. What makes you think I'm going to listen to you?
My other clients don't either. It's fine.
So Amanda says Trump knew exactly what he was doing and then tried to blame liberals. What reason would liberals storm the Capitol? Oh, haven't you heard, Amanda? Tucker says, it's a false flag narrative. Dr. Pearson, you're 100% right. So, point for Dr. Tracy. Jima says, exactly, Mel. Point for Mel.
Wade stopped keeping track of these points, and I've got to say that
I already said it multiple times tonight. I'm getting my ass whooped, all right? This is some bullshit.
I think Wade has 1, Dr. Tracy has 3, and I think I have 5.
Oh, yeah, you're paying attention tonight, aren't you?
Thank you so much for tuning in, Ahaz. Just to let you guys know, we are an international show, so people are watching us all across the country, all across the globe, all across everywhere. Jima says Mel is right about Fox. Point for me.
I just looked it up. Mel is right about Fox.
I know, because
we're a news
channel. Because we talk about the news here. Joanna says, I heard that Fox will be on 90 Day Fiancé. Oh, sorry. I mean, they will be on TLC reality TV. Amanda's laughing at Joanna. And then Lindsay says, 20 years of marriage, Dr. Tracy, he'd argue about the sky being blue just to piss me off. So, and then do you want to pull a couple? We do have 2 topics I do want to get to quickly. So do you want to pull a couple comments from Smoke and Bacon? So we do broadcast to several apps. Facebook is really the only app. Facebook and Twitch are really the only apps that we can see the comments. So do you want to pull a couple of the most inflammatory comments?
Good Clinton policies such as the crime bill bringing them to heel, inventing online bullying. The text messages you read do not indicate inciting the riot. And Mel has somehow made assumptions fact, not yet proven accurate. People telling the president to jump does not equal proof of guilt. Let the investigation.
So that's not what I said. So remember, the text messages didn't go to Trump. The text messages went to Meadows. So I want to make sure that we're clear that I wasn't saying that this was what I was saying. The first point I made was definitely about how Fox handled it publicly versus how they handled it with the text messages to Meadows. And I do think if Trump would have said something, it would have stopped it. So just want to be clear there. It wasn't clear before. All right, but let's jump into this. Let's get to this one, because Wade has been saying something about this for a very long time. So Kroger is to take away paid COVID benefits and add insurance surcharges for unvaccinated employees. So basically, Kroger's is taking away paid leave for unvaccinated employees and requiring them to pay a monthly insurance surcharge. Now, Wade has been talking about companies moving toward this for a while, so this is something that Wade did see coming. It's also going to add in a $100 incentive to people who do get vaccinated. But I do want to make sure that we know that this is for salaried, non-union employees. So not all Kroger's employees are going to be affected by this. But if you're non-union and you're salaried, this will affect you. So we'll go to you first, Wade, because this has been your thing.
So Kroger has been at the forefront of treating their employees badly, in my opinion, during this entire thing. And here's why I say that. So at first, they were essential employees. And Kroger's like, we're going to back our employees. We're going to give you these pay raises. We know it's dangerous. We appreciate you being here. And while it's just as dangerous, 6 months, 12 months later, they go, you know what? We're going to take that money back. You know, we appreciate everything you did. Here's a Christmas card. Here's some cookies. Thanks. Y'all have a good day. We're going to take this back, even though it's just as dangerous today as it was 6 months prior. And now Kroger is going to charge their people more for their insurance, and it's a surcharge meant to encourage them to get the vaccination. It's not it's not an encouragement. It's a penalty. It's how you spin the narrative. I'm going to charge you more. It's not going to the insurance people. It's not going to the insurance based off the article, the insurance providers. It's strictly a surcharge that Kroger is going to charge their own employees as a penalty. So thanks for being an essential employee. We appreciate you here working. Pay me more to work for me.
So I'm going to agree and disagree with this before we go to Dr. Tracy. So they're saying salaried, non-union. So it's probably not cashiers. It's probably not bag boys. It's probably
Depends
not
on the
bag
state.
people. It's probably people sitting in corporate offices.
It depends on the state. For example, we don't have a grocers union here in Virginia. So if they're not union.
But here's the thing. Most people working at a grocery store, unless you're management, you're not salaried. You're hourly. So I do think this is targeted and directed more towards corporate people in the corporate office.
It shouldn't be targeted towards anybody.
I understand that, but you're saying, oh, thanks for working in a
yeah, it doesn't matter who they are. They could be a store manager, assistant store manager, a bagger. They all share the same risk.
So now we'll go to Dr. Tracy. I just wanted to put that out there just so people know that they're not charging the bag boy or the bag person, excuse me.
Yeah, I know that they had ended sick time, COVID sick time, because the laws have run out. They've expired, or they're about to expire. California's law is about to expire. However, the insurance premium surcharges, I've seen those before. I've seen them for people who have uninsured or spouses that can get insurance at their own place of work, and they elect to try to go through their spouse in like, let's say, company A versus company B. And what's interesting to me, and what my question is, and I don't know the answer to this, Mel, maybe you know, is whether Kroger is self-insured. The premium surcharge would go to cover the costs that ultimately that the self-insured company is paying out. Normally, a small business, when they arrange for insurance through a contract for their employees, they're paying a portion of a premium. Both parties are paying portion of a premium. However, when you're a self-insured company, you're also paying a portion of you're paying for the claims. So the claims also come back to you. And so you're simply paying, let's say, Anthem to administer the plan. And you're paying for those claims out of a pool of money. So Kroger may be trying to offset what is ultimately going to be a cost to them later on. And you can't blame them for doing it. If you can take a vaccine to try to mitigate what will be a very expensive treatment process in ICU, then they should do that. Just take the vaccine. You don't have the surcharge. It's really easy.
So I actually don't know. I don't know how they handle their insurance.
Let me Google it.
But I can. Yeah, okay,
that's what I was just thinking too.
Google
knows everything.
Don't say that, Wade.
I didn't say it was accurate. I just said it knows everything.
So with this Kroger, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I disagree with it, but I'm saying that I knew this was coming. Wade knew this was coming. I think he was one of the first people who did bring it up on the show. But I definitely agree that I think with Kroger being one of the first, it's just going to spread like wildfire, especially with Omicron coming in and essentially going to knock us on our backside.
According to the SEC, Kroger uses a combination of insurance and self-insurance to provide for it.
So then that does make sense with the surcharge, and I think this is appropriate. Then, if that's the case, I do think it's appropriate. And I think Kroger is giving way to wanting all of his employees to be vaccinated without having to put a vaccine mandate in place. Now, we do see different companies are putting different programs in place in order to get their employees vaccinated, with some companies saying that you have to be vaccinated or you no longer have a job. But there's companies like Kroger who are now switching it, where saying if you're vaccinated, you don't have to pay the surcharge. You don't have to do this or that. So I do think it's just another way to get people vaccinated, but also allow people to keep their jobs. So for the most part, I do support it, especially if you want to if you don't want people to lose their jobs because of vaccination. I do think this is one way to do it. And then we also have to look at it this way. If you are not vaccinated, a lot of companies are putting policies in place that you have to constantly be tested, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, they want you tested. So this is also picking up some of that slack as well of getting the people tested, because it goes back to the insurance. So.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
The mandate said that no employer, the OSHA mandate said no employer is responsible for providing the testing. They can pass that cost off to the employees.
No. So if they're going through their insurance company, and they split how they do insurance, it is coming back to them, right? The cost. Right?
How? If I have to test, even though I'm vaccinated, let's say I wasn't. If I have to test every week because I chose not to be vaccinated, and my company, Kroger or anybody else, says we're not paying for it, you want to be unvaccinated, you have to go pay for the cost to be tested every week. How is it coming back to them?
Because they're saying, okay, here's my insurance card because you accept my insurance. The doctor is accepting the insurance. They're giving it.
You're saying the employee, because the employee is providing their insurance card.
Insurance card. Yep.
Okay.
So it does come back. It's so the employee. So here's the thing: the employer is not saying, "Here is money, go get tested," but it is coming back to the employer. It's
coming them in the back end on the cost for the insurance.
Exactly. Okay. So it is.
I was a little confused there. I'm like, if I'm not paying for it, how am I paying for it? But that makes sense.
Yeah. So here's my main question to you guys: yes or no on Kroger doing this? Do you support it? Do you not support it? Or do you need more information? Why do you not support it, Wade?
Anything that impacts an essential worker in any way, shape, or form, I'm not for. Especially financially, when they have to work in that position and they're just as exposed as anybody else.
So here's my next question. If this policy is in place to stop them from putting a vaccine mandate in place where they have to get vaccinated, do you think this is a better option than forcing them to get vaccinated?
If it came down to a choice of, here's what we're going to do, folks. All right. You don't want to get vaccinated. That's fine. I'm going to give you two choices. Here's the two choices. I can either charge you $25, $50 extra a week, or you can go get vaccinated. But those are your two choices. Okay. I can kind of understand that because you chose not to get vaccinated. Here's what you're going to pay. When you don't allow the employee a choice, though, and you say, this is what we're going to do to you if you're not vaccinated, as an encouragement to get vaccinated, that to me is like, I don't know, putting your foot in your ass.
I feel like you kind of just said the same thing and then agreed with it one way and then disagreed with it another way.
If the employee has the choice, I can agree with it. All right, let me. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Okay. If the employer says, I'm going to give you a choice of this, I can understand that. But in Kroger, in this case, didn't give them a choice. They said, this is what we're going to do because you're unvaccinated.
So go get vaccinated. You're being given a choice.
Right. So it's, in my mind, it's the employer making the decision for the employee. It's not the employee making the decision. They're forcing that decision on the employee. Does that make more sense?
So this is why I support it, right? And I'm gonna come back to this because
like I said, both of y'all tonight.
It's like you're dancing.
I need more liquor tonight. This is some bullshit.
So I'm gonna say this, right? Other companies are giving this option, right? They're saying, hey, hello, workers, you can be fired or you can be vaccinated. That's what most companies are giving their workers right now. Kroger's took a different approach. They're like, hey, employees, instead of being fired, let's take that off the table so you can get vaccinated or you can pay more insurance so you're not vaccinated.
See, and the difference is that they were considered essential employees. They were made to come to work to provide for everybody that was outside of work and everything else. So this is where my contention is on it.
Okay.
You paid us more for being there, and then you took that away. All right. We're still there, and now you're going to take more money away from us because I choose not to get vaccinated. This
Or
is where
we
my
could
problem
take-
is.
Or we could take all the money away from you by hiring you.
Firing you.
So we're trying to help you guys out. I'm still okay with this. I'm okay with Kroger's.
There's not enough liquor in my office tonight. This is some
So-
bullshit.
Well, I guess we'll
that's you're
all
blaming it on, huh?
Yeah.
I guess we'll all disagree. We'll all agree to disagree.
I
feel
am
like
not
this-
accurately expressing my point. I will go with that.
I will. I feel like you want to be against it because that's your personality. I don't know if you're fully against it. I think you're like pulling at things, but they were essential, yes, and that's why they're giving this the, hey, you can be fired. No, we'll take that off the table. So I do think they're doing.
I
do
think
think
anything that takes money out of an essential worker's pocket, no matter what it is wrong.
But you think it's coming out of the cashier's pocket. This is the store manager who refuses to get vaccinated.
Yeah, who's essentially putting all his employees at risk more.
Still, how is he any more of a threat than the bagger?
But the bagger is probably getting vaccinated.
The
Probably.
bagger is actually more of a threat than the
So
store manager because they are constantly in contact with people.
So
just
I'm
like
gonna
the
say
cashier who
this.
touches
I
everything.
can't. I'm gonna say this. The fish rots from the head. I hate using this analogy. The fish rots from the head, right? At most times, most people will follow whatever leadership is put in front of them. If the store manager is vaccinated, I guarantee you more employees will be vaccinated. If a person in power is vaccinated and talks about it, more people following that person will be vaccinated. So I do think this policy is helping. Again, this is not for the bagger, this is not for the cashier. But if the store manager, the assistant manager is anti-vax, most people around them are probably gonna be anti-vax too. The fish rots from the head. So that is my answer to that. Does
Stop
that make
making
sense?
sense, Mel. This is some bullshit.
I'm sorry, that's all I can do. But let's go ahead and pull up these comments to see what's going on.
Stop making sense, Mel.
You can
can't
tell
help-
he's not enough whiskey there. I mean, you
Not
can
enough.
tell when you start saying stuff like that.
So I'm trying to find these comments where we left off.
I'm almost out. This is some bullshit, y'all.
Okay, so let's go. I think I found them. Dr. Tracy is so right asking the question because self-insurance is a different ball game, and they can totally and legally do it. The company I work for is self-insured, and we have the same setup. Lindsay also says, "Oh man, Mel, you're giving him profit-like status. LOL, you're gonna create a monster." Thanks. I mean, a big part of the show is making predictions, and I'm usually right. It would only be fair for me to tell other people when they're right too.
Sunshine on a dog's ass every now and again.
and let's be honest, Wade needs some kind of win tonight because he is losing.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I need something tonight. An earthquake,
This is like-
power outage, something.
Tonight is a good night.
Tonight is a good night.
Oh.
Lindsay says, "Laugh my ass off." I'm with Mel. Words are hard. Wade, laugh my ass. I love you, but stop. Should have read that one earlier. Amanda says, "We're adults. There are consequences for everything. There has been upcharges for things. If you smoke, you can pay more for life insurance than someone else. If you have a pre-existing condition, you can push more than a healthy person.
Pay
Push
more.
it.
I think she said.
Pay
Yeah.
more. Okay, than a healthy person. Thank you. At least
Those letters
this
are
one.
close to the board.
Oh, perfect. At least this one is a known choice. If they don't want to vaccinate, pay more. If you don't wish to, then Kroger isn't the place for you to work, and you can go work at some place where they'll fire you. So it's." Amanda says,
Who
"Nurses." Amanda says nurses were considered essential employees. They were forced to get vaccinated because thanks science, they weren't given a test option. They were not. Sean says, so Kroger wins and health insurance companies win. Good corporate move does not stop the spread. Oh, wish you were here, Sean. Wish you were here.
Yeah, I really do, Sean. I wish you were here.
Oh, I love this comment. There again, Mel's right. Yes.
And a flower. You got a flower.
Oh, I got a
Go ahead and
flower.
get drunk, you won't win. Oh, I'm so not winning tonight.
Wait, read that again. Read that again.
Quaid, go ahead, get drunk. You won't win tonight.
And then Joanna says, "We still love you, Wade. Stay strong." Poor Wade. We need like Wade stay strong bracelets tonight.
Right.
Okay, so I want to jump on one fun. Oh wait, any comments from Smoke and Bacon?
Yeah, so there's actually a good question here. So Las Vegas says there's two of them. Follow-up question: does being religious provide enough immunity to protect oneself and their coworkers? And JP Jr. says Las Vegas religion doesn't protect you from anything on earth. It helps on the afterlife side. I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, he's not wrong. He's out of line, but he's not wrong.
Nobody's returned to tell us, so we are
right?
about that.
So, what does it matter at that point? So, if I claim a religious exemption, do you still charge me more?
That is a sticky situation. I don't know.
That is sticky as shit.
That is sticky. Because like I'll say something like if someone was Catholic and tried to say religious exemption, I would laugh in their face and be like, nah, dog. If someone who's Jehovah's Witness says it, I'd be like, oh yeah, probably. You guys bring
in fact, they aren't anti-vax. There's only one religion that is anti-vax in their ideology, and it's the Reformed Church, Dutch Church.
There you go. So I guess no. Unless you're the Reformed Dutch Church, then it doesn't matter. Because I was gonna say, like, most of the churches are coming out in favor, and we're talking about Christianity here because we're in America. But yeah,
the two that we've always been worried about
ain't dropping like the rest of us.
The two that we've been worried about are the ones that are the which one is it? The Latter-day Saints, I think, and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And in fact, with your ideology, they are not anti-vax. There's nothing that prohibits it.
Yeah, because I remember with Mormons, they came out and said like they'll get vaccinated, and there were so many angry Mormons. There were so many angry Mormons, and Mormons don't get angry. So
exactly.
Look, you can't drink alcohol above the skies of what is it, Utah or Ohio? I mean, whichever one it is, the Mormon state, whichever one it is, all right.
Utah.
But they're okay with vaccinations. I am confused.
They are.
Let's go. Oh, man, I love Mel's genuine laugh.
And here's why. Let me explain why. Is because they're okay. They believe in God healing them, but they take no issue with preventing disease.
Interesting.
Oh, that's an interesting. That's an interesting break on those two.
I got lots of stuff up here. Lots of facts.
We're gonna pull that. Well, maybe we'll have a religious debate one day on the show.
Oh, I'm definitely not the one for that. Then,
like that was as it's coming out because it came out sarcastically.
Claw that back.
And I was like, no, I feel like someone's like, but you said no.
Yeah, the last time Jehovah's Witness showed up at my door because there's a Kingdom Hall like 300 feet from my house. They showed up and I said, "Oh yeah, my wife would love to talk to you." And I said, "Honey," and I walked off.
Let's make it happen. Amanda says, I think Jehovah's are just anti-blood transfusion and now transplants. Okay. And then Liz says, holy mic drop, Dr. Tracy, with the Reformed Dutch Church. LOI, I learned something new from that. All right. So we're gonna talk about one thing really, really quickly because, and I mean like one thing from each of us. It doesn't really need to be a big topic. But Elizabeth Warren tweeted, let's change the rich tax code so person of the year will actually pay taxes and stop freeloading off of everyone else. As most of us know, Elon Musk was named Time's Person of the Year. Many progressives are not okay with that because they believe they need to be taxed and paid their fair amounts. And Elon Musk came back and basically called Elizabeth Warren Senator Karen, and he tweeted, please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen. And then he also said that she reminded him of an angry mom. Thoughts on this?
Well, when you don't have any sort of substantive response, you name call.
Wade?
I love Elon. I wish I could. I wish in some way, shape, or form that I could spend an afternoon with him just picking his brain. All right. I mean, because he doesn't give a fuck. Let's be honest. All right. He went on a radio station and smoked pot and was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. All right. He built a rocket to launch into space. He got a divorce and moved into a small house. And then he called a senator a Karen. He doesn't care. There is nothing any of us can do to him.
I mean, there is something we could do to him. Have him pay taxes.
Even then, if I was Elon, I would say, all right, what's your number? What do you think would be an appropriate amount of taxes for me to pay? And I bet you he gets 200 different answers.
He does. I mean, if you were to ask me what's an appropriate amount for me to pay, I'm pretty sure people will have 200 different answers for you too.
Mine is 0.
For yourself?
Yes, 0. Because I
Look,
guarantee you, if I stop paying taxes right now with the piddly amount that I do pay, which I think is excessive, it still would not hurt the United States government in any way, shape, or form. So I'm okay paying 0.
I mean, like, you're in Virginia, though. Taxes are not that
Exactly.
high. So I'm
think
okay
they
with
can
taxes.
get by without me paying taxes.
I'm okay with taxes. I think taxes fund a lot of great programs for people. They're also very good safety nets. I think people should pay taxes, including myself. I will find any way, though, to make sure I pay the minimum amount of taxes I should be paying. However, I do think that we do need to look at how the top earners and the wealthiest Americans need to pay more taxes. Essentially, they do need to pay more taxes. And I'm not talking about someone who makes $500,000 a year, because again, that's penny compared to the billions that Elon, Zuck, Jack, Bezos are all paying. So I'm going to leave with that one. I don't think Elizabeth Warren is a Karen at all. I think it was an appropriate statement. Someone was named Time Magazine Part of the Year. You have an issue with that person, you can call it out. I do think it was an appropriate statement. So, anyone disagree with me?
I think people are always going to poke at people.
Yeah.
And I think depending on your amount of money that you have is how you respond.
I don't want to hear Elon talk about bullying or anything like that from now until the end of time. That was a response that wasn't substantive. At least she made a substantive response, statement, which is that you should be paying more taxes.
Yeah. So, I completely agree with what Dr. Tracy said. I don't think it called for the bullying. I don't know. Maybe Elon needs to smoke some more weed or something.
He's in Texas now, so it's not legal like it was in California. He could be jonesing.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how Elon's going to survive Texas. It does not seem like the state for him.
It doesn't matter. When you have the amount of money that Elon has, you can survive anywhere.
No, that's true.
So,
That is true.
I mean, he probably has a plane full of pot being flown in once a month. So let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. So let's go to the comments, and then we'll call it a night, guys. So Lindsay says, no, don't tell that story, you a-hole. And then she's laughing. And for all those who don't know, that was directed directly towards Wade.
Yep. I'm losing tonight.
Lindsay says, Musk and Wade are never allowed to meet. Ever.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Amanda says, is Wade gonna taxation is death? LOL.
Yes.
Correction there. And then Lindsay says, Amanda, you totally just had me cracking up because I thought the same thing. He's not happy with me tonight. I don't think Wade's happy with anyone tonight. Joanna says, there's just no integrity anymore. Sad, no respect. Mm-hmm. Amanda says, of course he can afford it. He doesn't have to pay taxes. And then Jima says, it is like the old saying goes, too much is given, much is expected. And then do we have any comments from the Smoke and Bacon app?
I don't even know where to start.
Go ahead and read it, and then we're going to call it a night. I'll try not to respond.
So Las Vegas says, so all the thousands and thousands of people scrambling for religious exemptions are actually members of those two obscure organizations only? Interesting. One could argue Elon Musk has done more for society than Senator Warren ever will. I'm going to go with he's right.
So I can agree with that, but I still think he needs to pay more taxes.
Mm-hmm. JP Jr. says, even though Musk is making tons of money, what is the trickle down of that money to us below, as in workers at his factories? If the rich have to pay more taxes, then they will work to hide more or move it overseas, which causes the trickle down to be reduced. Las Vegas says, honorably discharged veterans should pay $0. Everybody else should pay Herman Cain's 999 plan. I agree with that first statement. The first part of it, I don't know what the Herman Cain's 999 plan is, so I don't know.
Of course you do. Go back to the previous comment. What did Las Vegas say?
You mean JP Jr.?
The one right before the last one you read.
So JP Jr. says, even though Musk is making tons of money, what is the trickle down of that money to us below, as in workers at his factories? If the rich have to pay more taxes, then they will work to hide more or move it overseas, which I guess he's referring to the money, which causes the trickle down to be reduced.
Go ahead, Dr. Tracy. You can
no. I'm just like, that is just such a twisted. I just can't. I don't have.
So I don't agree with that. I know we're talking about Elon Musk, but I'm going to use Jeff Bezos as the example because
he's probably not the best example tonight, Mel.
I mean, he may be because Amazon workers don't make money. Amazon workers were killed in a tornado when they knew they should have went home, but they were going to be fired. So yeah, I don't think it doesn't help the workers. Like, yeah, you have a job. You can work at Amazon. If you work at Amazon at a factory or a warehouse or something like that, you're probably making minimum wage in the area, a little bit above minimum wage, which then means that you are still going on social safety net programs to help you continue to live, such as food stamps. So essentially you're just still taking tax money to be able to eat because these jobs don't pay enough. And billionaires are still not paying taxes.
But it's silly to believe that if we tax people more, that costs won't rise. It's
not
silly
people
to believe that. And it's silly to believe that because of that, workers will get less.
So here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
I'm a billionaire.
I'm not saying
make my billions.
So here's the thing. I'm not saying when I say tax people more, I'm not saying people who make $500,000.
Right.
I don't tax them more. I don't think people who make $500,000 should be taxed anymore. I think they're overtaxed at this point too. I'm not even talking about people who make $1 million. I think people who make $1 million are being overtaxed in this country as well. I'm talking about people who make $1 billion. I'm talking about people who are generating wealth and hoarding it. That is what I'm talking about. I think there's a clear distinction. I know a lot of times when we talk about tax the rich, people are thinking I'm talking about people who make $1 million a year. Sorry to break it to you guys. $1 million a year is not a lot of money. Now, in perspective, it can look like that if you're not making $1 million a year. But $1 million a year is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
See, but I think you've got that a little skewed too, because if I make $1 million a year and you tax me more, it actually hurts me less than a person who makes $1 billion a year. All right, now follow me on this. Okay, so follow me on this. Okay,
let's say my carrots, throw lettuce. We're going down the rabbit hole. Okay.
Yes, we're going way down the rabbit hole on this. Okay, let's say just for math purposes, for this argument, that you charge me 10% because I make $1 million. That's $100K, right? Okay. Now, if I make $1 billion, that's $100 million. That hurts me more. I want that 100 million more than that 100K.
Okay, hurt is relative, and it doesn't. And I guess I want to get back to the first point, which is that that comment is based off the idea that the trickle down actually works. So it doesn't work, and so it doesn't. It's a fallacy. The fact of the matter is that they should be paying taxes, and that because they make so much money, they have way more ways to store it and hide it. I mean, I think didn't he just sell, I don't know how many shares of stock to make a certain amount of money, and he threw that out onto Twitter to have people vote about it. I mean, I'm not asking people to vote about whether I should
Who?
sell stock
Elon
or
or Jeff
taxes.
Bezos?
Elon.
Musk.
Yes.
So, he in some ways he cultivated this Time Person of the Year by doing that. I mean, he wasn't paying taxes before, but do you think I should do it now so that way I can pay some taxes on the sale of my stock? I mean, it's just outrageous. So, the fact that Warren's calling him out on it, I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. To call him out on that. I was gonna say something, and Wade, that comment was just, I don't see how.
What? 100 million is way more than 100K.
Duh.
It's relative to the amount of money that you have in your pocket.
So if I only make X amount of dollars less, say like I don't know, $80,000 a year, and you tax me, it's gonna hurt me way more.
Yeah.
Because I have even more or less. I have less to hide and store away places, and to put into holding companies and to call expenses. I mean, no.
I think you're just being difficult tonight to be difficult, because I know you don't believe. I know you can't believe that.
Go to the comments. This is helping us. Go ahead.
Yo.
Jima says, "I told you, Wade. Go ahead, get drunk." Lindsay's doing one of these. Oh God, one of my favorite comments. Lindsay says, "Agreed with Mel." Lindsay says, "Just stop, babe." Lindsay says, "Where is her heart for you tonight? No more whiskey." Oh man.
Look, this is all some bullshit. I can handle maybe one of you on my own.
Are there any more comments from Smoking Bacon before we turn off? Because I don't have words for you tonight, because I know you can't believe that.
Can we get T-shirts? Like, we need to sell merch that says "Wade, just stop, babe."
That's
the first item. That's the first merch item for the show. It has to be.
So Las Vegas says, "Let them eat cake." Mel is making a strong point for cryptocurrency. I'll have words with you later, Las Vegas. That Elon stock sell was to fund a major donation to fight food inequality. Did
it actually go there? It was supposed to, but did it actually go? Did the money actually go there? Because I didn't hear if the money went there. That's something. Oh, by the way, if you're paying attention to things, just saying, research it yourself. I'm not your financial advisor. Don't listen to me. But just interesting. I feel like Warren Buffett right now has more cash reserves than ever. Elon's, selling things. I feel like people are letting go of a lot of stock right now.
Warren Buffett has also driven the same car since 1960.
Yes, I'm not talking about that.
Every morning. That's what he has for. He doesn't even buy food. He buys McDonald's. That's what he does. He has no food in his house.
Did I ever tell you my theory about Warren Buffett? I think he's slightly on the spectrum. So it's not necessarily about being. It's not about like being conservative money or not spending. I just think this is what I like. This is the way things are. This is what it's going to be. And the reason why he's so invested in the stock market, and I don't mean that it's like invested in the stock market, is because that's his stimming. If you get what I mean, like that's his thing. I actually think that if Warren Buffett was born today, they would probably place him somewhere on the spectrum. So
they're predicting
Elon's
a crash.
On the spectrum too. Elon's on the spectrum too.
Well, we all know that. We know that we know. Yes, Lindsay, whatever you want to know, whatever you want to be on, come on.
No. This shit ain't happening. No,
and then,
I am not
Lindsay
going
says
up
crash
against
coming.
any of you. No.
Lindsay says crash soon to come, in my opinion. I was talking about this earlier. I'm not putting. I would like to say anywhere between 1 to 3 years from now, I do think that we may be seeing a crash. I think, depending on what government does in terms of regulating cryptocurrency, that we could also see a big crypto crash. Again, this all depends on governments. But if governments go the Chinese routes, we could be seeing a crash with crypto, with the markets, with crypto, with real estates. So, and
Las
God
Vegas
help us.
says silver, ammo, crypto, and water.
I agree with the silver, agree with the water. I think right now it's just too much up in the air for crypto.
And whiskey.
Yes, and whiskey. I think it's just too much up in the air with crypto right now because the whole future of crypto relies right now on how governments choose to regulate it. So.
Yes and no. I'm going to disagree with that because Elon Musk can rise and crash a cryptocurrency based off his word. Look what he did to Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still think he can rise and crash it all he wants. But once the governments across the globe decides how they're going, because let's say right now, the IRS is going after people. The IRS is going after people right now. I don't know much about tax law. That's one thing that I'm not too privy on. But I do know there's a way that they're going. Is it the John Doe? Is it the John Doe tax? John Doe tax law? I forgot. I'll look it up and bring it to you guys.
Yeah.
But they're going after crypto, like through places like Coinbase and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll look it up. I'll tell you. Tax code, tax law, not my thing. Don't ever come to me, Brandy.
All I know is I'm supposed to pay money for everything I do. That's all I know.
Yeah, me too.
I'm surprised when I flush the toilet, there isn't a tax.
Don't give him any ideas.
Right? Pretty soon all the toilets are going to come with little coin dispensers. You got to swipe your card or something before you can take a shit.
When I lived in Ireland, the public toilets require you to pay for them. And there's a woman who sits, and it was always a woman in the women's bathroom, obviously. There was a woman that sits in there and goes, 1p, please. Because it was 1 pence. So it was 1p. It was actually quite cute.
Yeah, no, if there's a woman sitting in the men's restroom asking for payment, it better be more than
Good
one
night,
pay.
everybody. Let me go to these last comments.
She is dealing with some nuclear shit, I'm here to tell you.
There you go, Wade. Turn up. Lindsay says Wade is on his own spectrum. Joanna says, Lindsay, yes, but this time Wade needs a straw for his bottle. And Lindsay's laughing, Joanna's laughing.
I definitely need a straw for my bottle tonight.
So, guys, thank you so much. I just looked at the time because I was not paying attention. So thank you guys for sticking around this late with us. This has been the Power Hour Panel Talk. We come live every single Tuesday night to bring you guys current events. This is the last show of the season. We will see everyone back here, same time, same place, January 3rd, 4th. You'll see it. And before January 4th. So we'll see you guys January 4th. Happy holidays. Hope everyone has a great whatever you celebrate. And we will see you. Dr. Tracy, you want to say one more thing?
Yes. So Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Join me at Deep Dive with Dr. Tracy. We are going to be talking about cults and political influence. And I got the steal of the year. I got Dr. Stephen Hassan, who wrote The Cult of Trump. So we're going to talk about cults and political influence, and he is the world's foremost expert on destructive cults and mind control.
I'm so excited for this. Joanna says, great show as always. Thank you. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you during the new year. Have a great one, guys.